our culture has taught people to chase an orgasm, not connection.
Okay.
We've been going after an orgasm for 2 generations now, not connection.
Yep.
So when I'm going after an orgasm, I'm trying to get to the orgasm as quick as possible, again, as efficiently as possible, the path that I think will get me there the fastest. Mm-hmm. It's really just about getting off rather than getting with. Wow, is the best way I would say it.
Yeah.
And nobody's immune to this, right? Like, I've never looked at porn, and there's been seasons in my marriage where I'm trying to get an orgasm and get off, not be with my wife.
And the problem with that is we would say that sex in a marriage, sex, because it should be in a marriage, is not about the orgasm.
Not just about it. Now, I think there's seasons, like my wife and I, man, we love to have a good quickie at lunch, and we both enjoy it, and both of us are just going after the excitement of the orgasm and that feeling. But if it's only that every time, it's shallow, and it's taken sex and it's stripped it down of its real value, which is to bond a couple to a point where it would be illogical that I would leave my father and mother, I would cleave to my wife, what the Lord has brought together that I would never want to have separated. When I make sex just an orgasm, I have to condition my brain to strip it of its bonding ability.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what has taken place. And here's what the bonding ability is, the way that the Lord wired our biology. Is we have hundreds of neurotransmitters. These are things that release chemicals in response to situations and circumstances. You have them that work if you're a sports fan and you're at a game and your team just won for baseball, they hit a home run and it ended the game. It's called a walk-off home run. Game's over. The excitement, your brain is releasing these transmitters that say, I can't believe I came to this game. I didn't watch it at home. Amazing.
Yeah.
I imagine if you hit the deer, right? Like you kill the animal, if you're a hunter, like that moment is just like euphoric, right? Like our brains are meant to reward us for certain things.
Yeah.
In hunting, why is that the way? Is because before we had the world that we lived in now, you needed to create a second nature biological response to providing food so you'd provide for your family.
Otherwise, you'd just starve. You'd just be like, whatever.
I'm not motivated. I'll just go pick some berries. But no, God knew we needed meat. He knew. And so I think he built that biological thing into us so that we would be rewarded when we provide for our family, not just watching my son eat, but also the experience of the hunt, right?
Yep.
Like all of those things. And every experience you have, both, and I use positive ones, there's also negative ones, right? Where your transmitters are saying, no, run. Get out of this situation. Fear is actually not a bad thing. We say we want to be fearless. Actually, I want to have some fear sometimes, right? Like I need that at
Standing
times.
in front of a train, I want fear to say, hey, you might want to move.
Absolutely, right? And so specifically when it comes to relationship, sex, pornography, the 4 that are at play primarily are vasopressin and oxytocin, dopamine and serotonin. And what those do, vasopressin and oxytocin are bonding agents. These are neurotransmitters that are released that cause you to feel ownership. Okay, and that's what when a 16-year-old kid, let's say, who his brain doesn't fully develop for another 6 years, begins to have sex in high school, and that relationship falls apart. Well, because you don't have full development of the frontal cortex, which holds the self-control and decision-making portion of the brain, but you do have full control of your neurotransmitters are functioning just fine. Vasopressin has been released every time he's been with this girl. And now good decision-making and self-control is undeveloped. What does he do now the moment they break up? He becomes the rage, jealous, angry boyfriend that can't handle the breakup.
And he has like chemically bonded with her.
He has chemically bonded with her. His brain has taken his experiences with her, put them into his subconscious, done what the brain was meant to do, and said, this is my wife.
Yep.
Whether they've ever crossed the altar or not, to his biology, she's mine. And
which also sheds a ton of light, secondarily here, sheds a ton of light on why it's so hard to get over a breakup.
Absolutely. That's why they say you'll never forget your first, because you were never supposed to forget your first. It's so true.
Yep.
That you bond significantly. Dating has never been the way that it is right now in our culture in the last 50 years, where you would potentially have multiple girlfriends or boyfriends before you ever cross the altar. I mean, that's never in the history of the world been the way that dating has been.
Yep.
And so whether you've had sex or not, you've bonded at some level. And so what happens if I bond to that person and we break up? What do I have to do? Just so I can be sane, I have to convince myself that I'll be okay. I have to convince myself that it doesn't hurt. I get to partner number 2, partner number 3, partner number 4. For men in America, the average man has 6 sexual partners before their wedding day.
Wow.
So what I've done 6 times then is I've had to convince my emotions to shut up.
Yeah.
I've had to convince my bonding neurotransmitters to stop being so emotional.
Yeah.
Stop being so weak. Stop being so committed. You should be able to have casual sex and not have it bother you like
Right.
all the other men. Because if you're going to be a man in this society, you have to have lots of sex. And if you don't have lots of sex, you're not a real man. So that means you have to learn how to quiet and silence your emotions.
And all the while, your emotions are just, I mean, it's a jackhammer.
Yeah.
It's a sledgehammer to your emotions.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like whiplash. I love her. No, I don't. I can't say love because to love means I'm going to have to unbond. And so we're going back and forth.
And you love something or you want something that you can't have.
Absolutely.